So why CO2 matters? So CO2, as we talked about, it regulates breathing. It determines the breath rate and volume. It controls whether or not oxygen is released into the tissues. Another interesting fact about CO2 is it dilates the smooth muscle of the body. Now, smooth muscle is not the muscles that we use like to pump and, you know, work out or do our asana practice. Smooth muscle is a different kind of muscle than the striated muscles. And it's embedded in essentially every organ of the body. It's embedded in the arteries and the airways, and it can contract and dilate. And what contracts or dilates it is CO2. The more CO2 we have, the more dilated the smooth muscle is. So if you have arteries embedded, and you do, with smooth muscle, and your CO2 levels go down, what's going to happen to the smooth muscle? It's going to contract, and then what's going to happen to the arterial system? Could that affect your blood pressure? If you have smooth muscle around your artery, your airways, and you do, and your CO2 levels go down, is that going to affect your ability to breathe through your airways? Or your intestines? Is that going to affect whether you're constipated or not? Or your reproductive organs? What's happening when we lower our CO2 levels by breathing too much? All of the organ systems are being impacted via the smooth muscle. That's going to affect our health. CO2 also creates carbonic acid, which acts as a natural antioxidant or buffer from free radicals. So free radicals, we know antioxidants are good. Antioxidant, break down the word, antioxidant. Antioxidants are good for fighting free radicals. Free radicals are bad, right? Free radicals create inflammation in our system. Free radicals are oxygen molecules that are not buffered in our body, well buffered by CO2. So I like to say, and I love blueberries, you can eat as many blueberries as you want, but the best antioxidant is to shut your mouth and breathe lightly through your nose. Right? That's the best way to bring your system into balance. And this is also related to the CO2 impact on the body's pH. pH, which is partial pressure of hydrogen. And I break that down because I actually didn't know what pH stood for until I was researching the book, and I was using this term pH, and I realized I didn't actually know what it meant. Partial pressure of hydrogen. Why is pH so important? Like there's this balance, this tightrope walker is, you know, I love this graphic from my friend Roy DeLeon, who made this for me and did the graphics for this PowerPoint. But there's this really narrow window of homeostasis, balance with our pH between 735 and 745 or 736, 746, in that just slightly alkaline on the acid to alkaline base from 0 to 14. We're slightly alkaline as our happy place, right? And if we go to 6, we're dead. If we go to 8, we're dead with our pH. Like we really need our blood pH to stay in that framework. If you're a little bit acid or a little bit alkaline, your system's out of balance. And just like the tightrope walker that loses his perfect control and is wobbly, our system gets very wobbly, and that's known as disease, right? So the body is very attuned to pH, and it's going to do everything it can to right our ship as quickly as we can, and the fastest way to do that is by changing our breath. By breathing more or less, we control how much CO2 is in our body and can bring our pH back into balance. That's if we start in balance. If we're chronically out of balance, unfortunately, what happens is the medulla gets set, the pH gets set to that imbalanced place, and it gets stuck there. And that's why it's difficult to bring our CO2 levels up, to breathe less. That's why it feels so hard. I asked you at the beginning, how easy is it to do this practice? Yeah, nobody raised their hand. Maybe one person did. but like it's hard. And that's because we have to convince